Hey everyone, and welcome to another awesome episode of Ask Drone You. My name is Paul, and with me today, my good friend, the Flying Dutchman. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Paul. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah?
We started the day with flying, and I think that's the way to start every day.
I think so. I mean, if you look at this weather, we got beautiful scenery here. It's like super crisp air, very bright. And yeah, we woke up early and we got a chance to fly some drones. And what better way to start the day?
Couldn't agree more. And, you know, as everyone knows, right now we are at CES. And CES is allowing us to really, test and try out all these new and different drones. CES 2020, in my opinion, has actually really even become almost the year of what seems like the flying taxis, where front and center in every newspaper is about flying drones. So in 5 years, we've really taken the leap from consumer drones into, okay, we need to be flying in these ourselves.
Oh yeah, there's a huge development going on. I mean, Bell is doing that. Uber is now working with Hyundai. Yeah. So, and I think there's at least 2 or 3 of them here on display at CES. I haven't had a chance to go there myself yet. I mean, I've mainly focused on the regular drones in the South Hall. There was plenty of information there for us to find. But yeah, I would want to go back and check out those air taxi passengers.
Definitely. And after this show, I do plan on going back and hopefully getting some more drones before you get them.
Yeah.
But no, that brings us into our first piece of news this week. And Haya, a new drone has arrived. It has hit the market. It is finally here. I'm talking about the Autel Evo 2. It's portable, it's flexible, and it even has interchangeable payloads like that dual payload you see right there with a 640p thermal sensor. Now, this drone is sporting a 40-minute flight time, Haya. 40 minutes.
It's crazy, huh?
After flying it this morning, what do you think?
I think it's an awesome drone. I mean, we knew this one was coming. We have one here. Actually, Autel was so nice to give us one to review. Paul and I flew it earlier today. I think it's a very solid drone. I mean, if you remember going from the DJI Mavic Pro to the DJI Mavic Pro 2, that was a much more solid drone, better packaged, better designed. I think you see a similar development with Autel. I mean, this drone is, I think, a much better design. It's not the prettiest drone. I don't think that matters much. I think it's really all about the functionality that the drone offers. And for one thing, a 40-minute flight time, as we experienced today, is nice because you can keep flying. You can do different things and discover different things that you can do with the drone. What sets this drone apart as well is that there are 3 different payloads. So the first one that Autel is going to bring to market is the one with the 8K video. That's the one that we have right here. In about 6 weeks later, so this one's going to hit the market, they say 3rd, 4th week of January. 6 weeks after that, you should be able to get the 6K version, which is really geared towards videography and photography. And then a couple of months later, it's going to be for the dual sensor setup, where you can choose from 2 different FLIR boson sensors. It's going to be quite a lot more expensive because those sensors itself are very expensive already. But it's going to give you much higher resolution. So if you're into search and rescue, I think that will be the ideal drone.
Yeah, if you're
to fly.
using the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual now, you're going to be really considering whether you want to use this drone, because a 640p sensor, what you would typically have on a Matrice 210, now fits on an Evo 2. And here's the thing that I love about that, Haya. What I love is that they are giving police departments, search and rescue, commercial drone operators, enterprise operators, they are giving the operators what we've asked for, which is interchangeable payloads on a small, portable, and flexible vehicle, but that also has decent resolution. And speaking of resolution, while the thermal is a 640p compared to the 150 pi that you find in the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual, we actually got to go out and fly this particular bird this morning just to show you what 8K looks like. I mean, I was honestly surprised whether this would even really be possible or not with the Autel Evo. But here it is right here. Here's the Evo 2 8K footage.
And it's crisp. It's really crisp.
It really is crispy. But, it's interesting because it looks like the strip is kind of further away than in the footage that we're about to see here from the Phantom 4 Pro version 2. So here's the Phantom 4 Pro, and notice that it looks a little bit more contrasty. Your color science is a little bit different, but so is the field of view. And for me, that's something that's, really Really interesting, huh?
Yeah, I think you have to be prepared though for a little different kind of workflow. I mean, the file sizes, of course, go up tremendously. However, it does give you a lot of flexibility in post-production, where you can now crop in and still maintain 4K video footage, but you can crop to certain areas of the raw footage that you shot, which is really nice.
That's a really good point, actually, because you could push in on this footage right here and have that closer, 4K look that you get out of the P4P version 2. So overall, before we get into the next piece of news, Haya, are you excited about the Autel Evo 2? I mean,
I think so, yeah, for sure. I'm very excited. I mean, for one, I always root for the underdogs, and I think in this case, both Skydio as well is another great example, but Autel Robotics as well. I mean, they've been fighting their way back into the game, and now they've overstepped DJI. I mean, this drone on specs at least blows the Mavic 2 Pro out of the water, I would say. We still have to put it through a lot of testing. We just had one flight early today. I think both you and I walked away very impressed flying this drone earlier. What I didn't mention yet is this drone is going to retail for $1445 when it becomes available. The 6K version that follows a little later is going to be about $200 to $300 more expensive. And you will also be able to buy those gimbal camera components separately. So you can buy one drone, and then if you decide later on that you want the 6K version as well, you are going to be able to buy that camera gimbal as a standalone package.
I think that is so cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish DJI would do that with some of their vehicles. But I think when Autel does this, DJI is going to hear a threat and say, maybe we should do that as well.
Yeah.
And, DJI really didn't release anything new during CES 2020. But one thing I have to say, Haya, is that when we were flying today, I took off the Phantom with an extended life battery at the same time that you took off with this, and I landed when my battery was dead and threw in another battery, and then my second battery died as you were landing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has a long flight time. Also, though, just so you're aware, we are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Altitude isn't very high, so the conditions for flight are rather favorable here, being warm and also being low in elevation. But all in all, man, I'm really excited about this thing. What I also love about it is that there's no geofencing. So if you're a responsible pilot like you should be, then you're not going to have any daddy restrictions on this drone. So
there's some differences and some things that are similar. I mean, this one has omnidirectional obstacle avoidance as well. We haven't tested it yet, but it's good to point out. So in that area, they kind of match up with DJI. But like you said, Paul, there's no geofencing, so you can fly this drone anywhere basically without having to unlock it or not being able to fly at all.
That's really powerful. So we're going to be doing some more tests with this, some more flying, right? Yeah, and I think this might actually make it into the best drone fleet video. That's what I was working on before we came out here, was the 2020 drone fleet. And honestly, like, if you have one of these, if you have a Phantom and you have a Skydio, you really don't need anything else, because you cover thermal, you cover the thermal, you cover the mapping, you cover the photography, and you cover the videography.
Yeah, so you're in business at that point, for
sure. I was going to have my Mavic 2 Pro in the best drone fleet, but honestly, I can do so much more with the Phantom, and the color gamut is still close enough from the Phantom to the Mavic 2 Pro. I feel comfortable with it. This Evo 2 with a Skydio and the Phantom 4 Pro version 2, that's all you need.
Pretty much, I would say. I mean,
and that would fit in one Inspire 1 case. All of that.
Yeah, you can take it with you pretty much anywhere and all the time, and that's awesome. Another thing, Drone DJ always awards the Drone DJ Award at CES. We did that last year for the first time, this year as well, and we awarded Autel Robotics with a Best Drone of CES 2020 award for the Autel Evo 2, which I think is well deserved. Yeah,
totally.
mean,
very objective as well.
I spoke with Jeff and Tim from Autel, and if you hear how many things they're juggling with behind the scenes. When we said that Autel was going to be at CES, they weren't even listed on the exhibitor list, and they told me that within 2 weeks they not only got the spot to still be able to have their booth up, but also organize, design, and build their booth. So they were not sleeping much at all, getting ready for this show, and they pulled it off. They got this drone. They had all the different models on display, and I think it was awesome. Yeah. So I wish them well, for sure.
Really excited about that, frankly. But that brings us to our next piece of drone news, and you won't believe what's back. That's right. It's the Phantom 4 Pro version 2. It is back. We got to fly it, as you can see it here. Got some great B-roll thanks to Jake Levesque. And frankly, it's one of those amazing drones. It is true, DJI now has the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 back in the stores, right, Haya?
Yeah, it's back online. It's going to be both at retailers as well as the official DJI store. So you can buy it online. You can buy it at your local DJI reseller if you prefer. It's back. We knew it was coming back. We thought originally it was going to be September or October. It took a little longer. I think they timed it right because I don't think, I mean, you had the LiDAR Lifox that DJI announced during CES, but in terms of drones, there wasn't really any news from DJI. So I thought they were smart timing the reintroduction of the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 at CES. They're shipping right now. I've already seen orders come through, so we know they're shipping. And yeah, it's a favorite drone for many valid reasons for a lot of you guys out there. So if you need one, now's the time to get your hands on one again. And I spoke with different people from DJI, and they assured me that as long as the demand is there for a Phantom 4 Pro version 2, they will keep making them. So now I know, of course, plans change and new drones will come out, so at some point this drone is going to become obsolete, but I think we can feel pretty confident that throughout 2020 you'll be able to get the Phantom 4 Pro version 2.
I mean, I started my entire business on a Phantom, and this is the if you have one drone to make a business on, it's this drone. And it's back.
It does it all, and it does it in any situation. So.
The only thing to be aware of is the price point did go up a little bit as DJI has pushed all the tariffs right on the customer or the consumer.
They did. They applied it on the retail price, which I don't think they would have to do, but decided to do that. So yeah, we're taking the full brunt there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But hey, we got the Phantom back. I'm happy about that because again, a lot of departments out there that are using the Phantom as a tool because it's great for photogrammetry. I mean, it is the photogrammetry drone, period. So you don't need the P4P RTK. Yes, that's great, but you know what? The P4P really can do it all. Are they relaunching the Advanced as well, or is it just the Pro?
I think it's just the Pro. It's a good question that you bring up here. I didn't specifically ask them. It didn't sound like they would. I mean, if so, then they probably would have told us. I expect it's only going to be the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 that's coming back now.
That's awesome. Well, you know what that means is that if you were like me and went out and bought all the Phantom 4 Phantom 4 Advanced version 2s before they went off the shelves, and you got the best deal in town. So anyway, well, that brings us into our next piece of news here at CES, Haya. And I gotta say, man, I'm really excited because this drone that looks kind of like a, I don't even know, it kind of looks like a Mavic, but with only 2 arms. So it's a drone with just 2 props, and it does not fly like a conventional helicopter. I'm going to have to go get some B-roll of that drone just to show people, and I'm sorry I don't have any B-roll to show you right now because it's a very interesting looking vehicle.
It's a totally different design, and going back to the Autel, if you talk about flight time and you thought that 40 minutes was impressive, this V-Coptr actually flies 50 minutes. Of course, having fewer motors and fewer props to spin, you can get more bang for your buck in terms of battery life. So it flies 50 minutes. It's really interesting when it starts up. Like you have those 2 arms that go up with the props high above the drone. Those props actually rotate, they tilt.
Wow.
So instead of having 4 props like a typical quadcopter and then the drone kind of bangs through the turns, this one just manipulates the props itself. And it looks really interesting. I've seen it fly, and it flies like you would expect a drone to fly. So,
really?
Yeah, I haven't had it in my hands yet, so no first-hand experience flying this drone. They did promise to ship me one, so once we have one, I'm definitely looking forward to testing that out. I think it's a very interesting design.
Me too, man. I want to see how it can handle the banking turns because with a drone like that and only 2 motors, it just makes me wonder how it really can fly.
If it does well, though, then they might be onto something, right? Because now you have a 50-minute flight time, and we were just saying, hey, 40 minutes is amazing. I mean, 50.
True.
Not bad.
Not bad. Now, we know the elephant in the room was also at CES. What are we talking about? We're talking about getting rid of RID. Get it? Ha, ha, ha. Get rid of it? No? Anyway.
No, we're trying.
We're trying. But the FAA was at CES this year. And honestly, Haya, I was actually kind of, how do I say this, relieved to go speak with them because they said, guys, you have got to get out there. You've got to comment on Remote ID. You've got to tell your story. How is it going to affect your business? What types of things are going to happen? Help us understand what effect this is going to have on your life and your livelihood. Now, remember, the way Remote ID is written right now, it almost absolutely destroys FPV racers. and any drone that would not be compliant with a network-based RID. Now, if you're like me, I think network RID needs to go. I think it's a complete privacy issue. Track the drones, broadcast only, that's my way. But when you write a comment, don't cut, copy, and paste. Tell your story, solve specific problems. There's 2,600 comments right now. They read all of them. Why not cut, copy, and paste, Haya? Well, because then we take 30 or so comments, and it now counts as one. Yeah. So, although I did find it interesting how the FAA was kind of in the back of the room.
They were. I mean, they were not front and center for sure. Probably on purpose, I don't know. But we did have a chance to speak with them, and they didn't really want to go into detail about the NPRM itself and like the different consequences. What they did want to do, though, is work with us as well to get the message out that if you really want to change the outcome of these proposed rules, you have to make yourself heard. And the way to do that is just like what Paul was saying earlier, is you have to submit your feedback and your comments to the FAA. It's very important, especially the stories as to how these rules will impact your hobby or your business. Those are the kind of stories that they're looking for. And the FAA did assure us that they will read them and they will take them into consideration, and hopefully they will adjust those rules based on that information. I know Paul with Drone U and myself as well from Drone DJ, we're trying to get the message out, reaching as many drone pilots as possible, and we will amplify your message as well. So if you have a business and you want to explain to us how you are impacted by these new rules, please share that information with us. We'll broadcast it as well to get more people to submit their feedback.
Yeah, and every time you see a pilot, you got to ask him, hey, did you comment? I mean, even one of the FAA officials, he goes, I've read every comment. And I was like,
wow,
and that's
they
good.
Yeah,
and you know what he said to me? He goes, you didn't comment. And I was like, I could have commented anonymously. You wouldn't know it was me.
but those are coming. Those are coming.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real urgency right away. I mean, it's far better to educate yourself, find out exactly what you want to submit, make sure you submit everything in one go, and then submit a thoughtful response. We have 60 days. The deadline is March 2 or March 2nd. So you don't have to do it today or tomorrow, but do make sure you do it within that 60-day period. Otherwise, you will not be heard, and that's not a good thing.
No, and we need to come together as an industry. By the way, don't forget to join us for that webinar on the 13th. Yeah. We have another webinar going in more detail, more depth, answering your questions, and also providing those guides that we talked about for commenting. Vic, Rob, Tim, Guarov, Kirill, they have all been working so hard to get you the information that you need. So make sure to attend that webinar. It will be linked in the show notes below. If you don't find it there, it's on our Facebook page. We'll also be on Twitter as well, which reminds me I should probably go put it on Twitter. So
and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, we're here to help as well, right?
That's
I mean, we are all concerned about these rules. I want to make sure we are pro remote identification for drones. We're not against it. We just want to make sure that it's implemented in a way that's not going to restrict and make our hobbies impossible or running our business very difficult.
And I would say I'm pro a broadcast-based remote ID without the FRIAs and without limiting all the vehicles and all the FPV drones and all the drones that we already have based off of the ANSI serial number standards. And also, if they can't broadcast, RID, there's got to be, more room for enjoyment for drones. Yeah. Otherwise, we are absolutely murdering the industry on every level.
Well, maybe that's a good point, Paul, if you can talk about that a little more. I mean, even a new drone like the Autel Evo 2 is going to be obsolete right away as soon as these new rules come into effect.
Which is bringing up a very poignant question. I know this is where you're going, which is, are people going to be buying a lot of drones between now and RID if it's kind of up in the air that the FAA is about to literally murder an industry and the innate value of all these drones that we've bought? I mean, I've got 15 vehicles. I know John McBride has 50 RC planes and helicopters. Yes, but also that doesn't include any of his drones. Yeah. So those are all out now. And, everyone in the FPV community is like, well, what are we going to do, you know? But if you're using the DJI FPV goggles, it makes me wonder, are you broadcasting RID right now and you don't even know it?
Probably.
You probably
wouldn't surprise me.
We need to test that.
I mean, we got some time, right? I mean, before these rules come in effect, even if they come in effect the way they are currently being proposed, it's still going to be some time out. So it's not like you're not going to make any money with the Phantom 4 Pro for the next 2 years. You can still use those drones. You can still run your business with it. But just keep in mind that these rules are coming. We don't know exactly how they will be used. But currently, the proposed set of rules doesn't look very favorable, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. But you do make a good point. We're far enough out now that if you were to not buy any drones between now and the implementation of RID, you probably wouldn't be able to run a business because that's so far out. I still think we're in a period of time where these drones are still very, very relevant. So, when you buy vehicles, when you buy services, when you buy stuff, but think about the company that you're supporting, the vehicle that you're getting, or the service that you're getting. Do you want to support those people in whatever they're lobbying for? Because now the line is being drawn in the sand where drone companies are. And there are companies that I used to love that I will absolutely never even say their name again because they're on the other side of the line, like, Kitty Hawk.
Sorry?
Sorry. Not sorry. So.
Yeah, no, but it's an important issue. And I think what we found as well, remember when we were in New York and we were interviewing people about lands, and then and this was in front of a DJI store. So we spoke to people that actually fly drones either for a hobby or a business. The number of times that people look at you and lens what? Like, what is that? And it just goes to show that a lot of people, unfortunately, aren't educated, aren't informed yet. And I think when it comes to remote ID, that's the one main message right now, is that look into it, find out how this stuff works, find out how it impacts your hobby or your business, and then submit your feedback. And in that sense, 60 days is going to fly by. We don't have that much time. So get in gear.
And also, don't be hating on the FAA or the people at the FAA, because I don't think that's really going to get us anywhere.
No.
And also, those people don't make individual decisions for the agency or organization as a whole. So, get fired up at the FAA as a agency, but not at individuals. That's not going to solve any problems. No. In fact, we need to bridge the gaps to really help the FAA understand how this is going to affect users. Because if you look at everyone, who is developing remote ID, and you look at all the cell phone carriers, and you look at everyone, there were no users in the room. Mm-hmm. And that's why this came out when it did. I will say, for the FAA to drop it the day after Christmas is a little bit shady, in my opinion, very sketchy, because they caught the sleeping giant off guard. The giant is now awake. We are coming on the doorstep, and we're knocking. But it's nice. It's a very nice, gentle knock, okay?
Yeah, and I think if you submit your comments, you can explain how it affects your hobby and your business, but I think you can also point to solutions and point to ways that it would work for you. Pointing out a problem is one thing, but I think it's more helpful when you also point to a solution, like a possible way that it would work for your business and that the impact is limited. And then I think in that sense, we might be able to help the FAA as a group to say, okay, we are pro remote ID, because we understand that if we want the drone industry to progress, you want to do things like beyond visual line of sight, you're going to need remote ID. But maybe if we do it in this way, it doesn't impact my business negatively, and we can still move the industry forward as a whole.
Yes, very true. But it also brings about a very good point, Haya, which is remote ID, if it does go through, could be negated, essentially, if we have a sub 250 gram drone. And it looks like there was a whole new drone manufacturer at CES 2020 this year, providing even more sub 250 gram drones. What's going on here?
This was awesome. This is a guy, Vernon is his name. He's from England. He decided to launch a drone and launched this project on Indiegogo, got funded. We reported on it on Drone DJ. He said he got funded within 12 hours.
Wow.
Then a lot more money came in, and they went to production. And I had the drone in my hands yesterday. He was explaining to me that the drone only weighs 170 grams. So I said to him, that's without the battery. He's like, no, the battery is built in. Yeah. So you have a drone weighing 170 grams. Of course, it doesn't have optical avoidance and a lot of defensive stuff. It only shoots 1080, but for social media and showing pictures and video on your phone or smartphone, that's more than enough in most cases anyway. I thought it was really impressive. Talking about underdogs, here you have this young kid coming up, able to fund a project, launch a drone, bring it to market. I was very impressed.
I'm impressed as well, just hearing this story. It's
awesome.
It really is. It's started from the bottom, now he's here.
So listen to this, right? The drone is shipping in February. It will be available for consumers in March. It's going to be $200. So if you want a drone, and it's a smart kit too. Like, for instance, think of the Mavic Pro, right? How many issues have we had with the gimbal and that's a ribbon cable where it would break or snap or get twisted? This guy decided, you know what, maybe it's a lot better to put the micro SD cards built in to the gimbal camera setup.
That's how DJI used to have it with the X3.
Exactly.
Oh, I missed that because that really screwed the Inspire 2 build quality. The Inspire 1 is literally literally where Ferrari meets John Deere, and they came together and made the best drone ever. I mean, it was a bulletproof drone. I miss it. I wish they would come back out with that. Or, change things up, because when they had the onboard processing of SD, that's why you couldn't have the X4S or X7 on the M600 for so long. And now you can buy an extra accessory and get it, whatever, but who cares? You solve a lot of problems when you put the SD card right back in the camera.
Yeah, so how cool is it that you have this young person coming up with this idea, fund the whole project, get it to market, and he's here. He was at CES, which is a big deal too. I mean, there weren't that many drone companies. I mean, Skydio wasn't there, for instance, and here you have this kid, and he's got his little booth, and he's got his drone, and I think it's an awesome story. I mean, I had the chance to quickly interview him, and we'll be sure to promote his story and his product on Drone DJ and here in this show as well. I think it's awesome. We need more people like that.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, it's exciting, man. And for the last new drone that we did see at CES this year, I'm really excited about the Power Egg. Yeah, I just said Power Egg. I know it's weird, but you can see the drone here. I've got more information actually coming out about that particular drone because we didn't have too much time to get too much B-roll together. But I got an interview there with one of the product specialists named Sydney. And what I liked about the drone is, imagine that the whole body is the camera gimbal, okay? And everything else is ancillary. So you can literally take the arms apart and then use it as like a family camcorder. But also what I love about it, and what I think people will love about this, is that let's say you're filming your kids, young kids playing soccer, they're jumping all over the place, right? And it's kind of hard to go back and forth smoothly. Well, you can get the touch right to get the smoothness, or you can just set up the active track. It's not called active track, but you guys get what I'm trying to point out here. The active track, and it'll actually subject track a person from the camcorder itself.
That's cool.
It is really cool.
That is cool.
Now, here's the thing. Typically, these providers seem like almost knockoff providers, right? But this particular drone, how much power it had and the stability it had when flying, they had like a waterfall almost. And to see the stability it had, the power, really gave me a lot of hope for that vehicle. So we'll get our hands on one here in the next week. And I'm really excited to fly that and give it a shot, because a waterproof drone is valuable for a lot of people. Yeah,
I was impressed too. I mean, it was funny. When I first walked up to that booth, it's like, what the heck is this? Like, it looked weird, like a toy in a way. And then later on, when I saw it flying, and it was basically hovering under a waterfall for a good 5 or 10 minutes, getting soaking wet, and it didn't give a shit. It just flew there, and like nothing was going on. The other thing also is that they had a massive booth set up. I mean, they didn't come to market in some small or shy way. I mean, their booth was pretty much as big as DJI and Autel's as well. So they had quite of a presence there.
It was huge. It really was. Well, the last piece of news isn't really news. It's that DJI launched nothing, and we have heard some secret rumors that DJI is launching a rover here in the next couple weeks. And I did get a sneak peek at it, by the way. But on that bombshell, that's going to do it for our CES. Yes, go ahead.
I have one little more bombshell. There was also word of a Matrice 300 making its way to the market. Pencil March in your calendar, and maybe we'll see a Matrice 300 around that time. So that's a little bombshell for this new show.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Go. Well, on those multi-bombshells, we are really grateful that you're here. Don't forget to go comment on the RID proposal. It's so important for our industry as a whole. Thanks again for joining us. Please leave us a review and share the show, and subscribe if you're on YouTube, because that helps us help more people. And if you like helping other people, then giving us a like or a subscribe should not be hard. Hiya, Flying Dutchman, thanks for joining me again today.
Thanks for having me on the show, and I think we should do a setup like this more often. It's more fun in person than it is on Skype. I
could not agree more, and the timing is typically always right. So
much easier. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you, Hiya, really thank you. And thank you to everyone else. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks again for watching Ask Drone U, coming to you live from CES 2020.